The great man theory. What is it? What does it mean? Well, it's hard to discuss this theory without Thomas Carlyle. Carlyle came around the 19th century and compiled the components into a theory. His book on heroes, hero worship, and the heroic in history talked about the heroes or great men in history. He wrote about Shakespeare, Odin, Napoleon, Martin Luther, Muhammad, and other key figures in history. But his main point, basically the keystone to the great man theory, was, quote, "History is nothing but the biography of great men," end quote. He believed that history could be told through the lives of these great men, and that these great men were born, not made. For example, he believed Napoleon was born to be Napoleon. He believed Martin Luther was born to be Martin Luther and born to raise against the church and create Lutheranism. This theory became very popular, especially when the Encyclopedia Britannica was published. And it was basically an example of it because it told history through the biographies of key figures in history. Not everyone agreed with this view, however. A man named Herbert Spencer was most outspoken in his opinion, calling the great man theory, quote, "childish, primitive, and unscientific," end quote. Instead of believing that great men were just born to be great men, he believed that great men were products of their environments. Or in other words, great men are made into who they are as a result of their past experiences. Alright, here's an analogy. Let's take a look at grades. I know, not very fun. But let's say the individual assignments are us, the people, and the big semester tests are the great men, and the ending grades in the class is the ending destination in history. In Carlyle's eyes, he believes that grades can be explained by looking at the semester tests, or the great men, and that is that the tests determine what the overall grade will be. The great men determine history. On the other hand, Herbert Spencer believes that it is the individual assignments that create the score of the test, or the individual people that create history. They both make sense because the test does have a greater impact on the grade than the individual assignments. And when you look at the assignment, do well on the assignments, you're more likely to do well on the test because that means you did your work. This theory also brings about the question of whether history is made by the masters or if it is made by the masses. So, here's another analogy. In the great man theory, we would be seen as sheep, and the great men, the shepherd. Although the sheep outnumber the shepherd, it isn't the sheep who make the decision. It is the shepherd who plans the course and determines where the sheep will go, or where history will go. The decisions the shepherd makes affects the sheep, but it is still the shepherd who makes history, or makes the route. Okay, so I like to imagine the theory of the masses like a river. A river isn't made with only one water molecule. However, all of the molecules together, they jumble down to create this large river, or history is what I'm metaphorically using it as. When there is enough force behind it, the river may change course and create a new bend in the river, or create change in history, or change history if you'd like it. Alright, so which theory is right? Do we have to become great men to create history? Or do we make history collectively, by each decision we each make? The question is more of a matter of opinion than fact, to be honest. In the way I see it, I see history is made by a mixture of both theories. I believe that whatever we do matters, and it is because of us, the masses, that create opportunities for the masters. However, I think there can't be one without the other. There has to be some sort of guiding force behind everything. Whether that is due to the decisions of great men, I'm not exactly sold. Yes, I do believe history wouldn't be the same. We wouldn't be the same without JFK, Martin Luther King Jr., and of course the Founding Fathers. But I don't think they're entirely responsible for the making of history. To quote Robert C. Bishop in his article on determinism, quote, "Historical events are surely, in some sense at least, constituted by what we do. A revolution, for example, could hardly occur if nobody revolted," end quote. He uses this in reference to fate, but I believe the same could be applied here. The American Revolution could have hardly been won, or fought much less, if the leaders did not have the support of the people. To me, history is made by both the decisions of great men and the collections of decisions made every day by the masses, because I believe that it is from the masses that come great men. Whether those great men are predestined to be those great men, I'll leave that up to you to decide. But that is my evaluation of the great man theory.